The Village of Seaward respectfully acknowledges that we are on the land we're gathered on is the unceded territory of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of this land. We're going to call the meeting to order. Public input is a maximum of 2 minutes per speaker. Public input, is for the purpose of permitting people in the gallery to provide feedbacks. It should be no longer than 15 minutes in total unless the majority vote of council. Each speaker may provide a respectful comment on any topic they deem appropriate, not necessarily on the topics on the agenda of the meeting. Each speaker may not speak longer for 2 minutes and may have a second opportunity if time permits. Each speaker may not be allowed to speak regarding a bylaw in respect to which a public hearing has been held. For the record, you would state your name and address. Please.
Thank you, Council. Alex Turner, 1727 Savory Road. I note in the agenda under the correspondence that you have 6 letters, and the recommended resolution is the correspondence A to be received. And I couldn't see anywhere in the agenda where you might be making a decision about our request for the Savory Garden Club to be excused from the $25 fee.
Yeah, what normally happens is council will pick, if there's a request in the correspondence, we will pull it out and we'll receive, say, A, C, D, E, and not B, hypothetically, if that was the correspondence, and we would discuss it.
Oh, I see. Well, here this says recommended resolution, all correspondence be received.
Yeah, we alter that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
My name is Mark Agnew. I live at 754 Savory Road. I just want to ask about the speed limit again on our road. To me, it's a public safety commitment that the village should have towards us like they do for the rest of the villagers. So I think that our speed limit should be lowered.
You CAO, do you have any comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I've reported to council before is that the speed limit on that particular stretch of road that Mr. Agnew is referring to is a MOTI jurisdiction. What would be required to advance that would be effectively a resolution of council for staff to investigate lowering the speed limit. What I've expressed to council before is, respectfully to Mr. Agnew, we don't have the jurisdiction. Council has the potential to ask MOTI, but Mr. Agnew does not.
Okay, can we put something forth for the October 3rd meeting that we can have the staff check with MOTI to have that adjusted?
Yes, we can look into that. I'm just mindful of our schedule for October 3rd and the amount of work that's already mounting.
October
is
fine. Not necessarily at the 3rd, you can't get it in.
We'll investigate the process for the 3rd. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Council okay with that? You have a comment, Councillor Pilson?
Yes, I do have a comment. I realize Mr. and Mrs. Agnew have been before us previously, and they were not didn't receive complete information. So I think it should be a timely item on the agenda, and I think waiting until October 3rd is a long time, since it was in the early summer that they were here prior to, or late spring, early summer prior to this appearance. And I think we owe it to them to make it a timely addition to the agenda.
I don't believe there's another council meeting until the 3rd. Is that not correct? So we have today's council meeting and then the 3rd. So that would be the quickest time turnover. Councillor Tinsley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that I think we all have to be cognizant of the weight load on the staff, and that them agreeing to move it to October the 3rd is very reasonable. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do we need a resolution on that?
Council can make a resolution if you want. But you don't, we don't necessarily need
to.
one, but
Just direction of staff?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll just run with that. Okay, anybody else in the gallery? No, anybody online? Nope. Okay. Question period is over. Excuse me, introduction of late items. Any introduction of late items? No. Approval of agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry,
sorry, pardon me, we just need to, I regret to inform council, we need to strike 12F.
on the
Okay.
approval of agenda.
Uh,
12F, grant aid.
12H, pardon me,
12H.
12H. My error, sorry. So that was a report. It was a handout that I had put in the agenda for fire services update. So I just regret to tell council I was not able to finish that off in time to hand it out to you tonight. So I will have that most certainly for October 3rd, that I can promise.
Thank you. So recommended resolution that the agenda for the regular council meeting for September 5th as amended be approved.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Bichette is opposed. Motion is carried. Minutes of previous, that the minutes from the special council meeting that was held on August 1st, 2023 be adopted. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in, Councillor Bichette, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I don't have any minutes before me to approve, so can we table this?
The minutes would have been in your agenda online.
For the special council meeting,
Well, that's a good point.
that's in camera.
That's correct. That's in camera, so you won't have the minutes for that.
So how can I approve something that I don't have reference to?
I understand.
Please
Thank
table
you. CL,
So the meeting may have gone in camera, but there's still minutes for the regular meeting.
not the detail of the in camera, just the regular meeting.
Every meeting
Okay,
begins with a regular meeting.
There you go. So you do have that. Okay. So the minutes of the special council meeting, August 1st. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Bichette is opposed. It's carried. And that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on August 15th, 2023 be adopted.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? Councillor Bichette?
Yes, thank you. There were several public comments that there were not staff notes taken with regards to the minutes, so I disapprove based on that.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Bichette and Councillor Paulson. It's carried. Because you're online and part of the screen is cut off, Councillor Bichette, you'll have to almost put your hand up in front of your face for us to see it. Just give you a heads up. Petition and delegations online. We have
that
Nate
work?
Portage. Yes, that's better. Thank you. Nathaniel, or Nate, pardon me, from the Clinical Operation Managers from the North Island District of BC Emergency Health Service regarding the upcoming changes to deployment of ambulance service in the Sayward area. Good evening, Nate. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors, and distinguished guests, and thank you very much for taking the time today to allow me to talk to you regarding some of the changes that are upcoming to the ambulance service deployment within the Sayward Valley and across the entire province. So, as many of you may be aware, BC Ambulance set out on a different deployment model in late 2020. And it was called the scheduled on-call deployment model. That is what is currently in Sayward. And the idea behind it is it employed 4 people as regular paramedics in their community, and they worked 8 hours a day at the station, and then spent the remaining 16 hours of the 24-hour shift on call. And they did this 3 days on, 3 days off. So over the last couple of years, BC Ambulance has had a lot of difficulty staffing that particular model around the province, and Sayward Valley has been no exception to that. We've really struggled to keep an ambulance running there all the time, and I would say that we only hit the mark 50% of the time, maybe just a little better, but nowhere near an acceptable level. And so in this last round of collective bargaining that completed in June, late May, early June, one of the things that was bargained away is that the SOC model must disappear and that a new model must be put into place, and it has to be implemented by end of March 2024. So that is upcoming over the next 9 months or so, and a bunch of things are going to take place. One, of course, everyone who already owns one of these regular part-time or full-time positions, their positions are protected within the community, and they won't be forced out of a job, which is always a goal for all of us. What will take place is one of 3 or 4 models will be put into place, and this came about with consultation with the employees, knowledge of the community, what sort of calls take place and when and where, what assets are available in the community for healthcare, as well as how far it is to a larger center such as Campbell River Hospital. So a bunch of those factors are taken into play, the desires of the staff, what everyone thinks is actually an achievable staffing model. And then all of this information gets fed into a central team that is dealing with this conversion, and it's going to wind up in the hands of the provincial government, who has the ultimate responsibility for making the decision as to what's going to happen with the 60 stations across the province that are affected by this change. So one of there's the 4 different models that are proposed, and again, I do not yet know what's going to go into place. My district looks after 6 stations that are affected by this, and Sayward is one of them. So the first model is what Sayward used to have way back when Pat Rush was running things, and that's called the Kilo model. That was a call-out model that relied on staff that essentially volunteered their time. They were on a pager. When the pager went off, they responded and went and did the call. The second model that's being proposed right now is called the scheduled on-call model. And that is a model which would encompass 16 hours a day of people in the station ready to respond, with 8 hours a day being covered on pager. That would provide employment for 8 people at a 0.75 of a regular full-time job. They would work 2 full 12-hour days at the station, followed by 2 4-hour nights at the station. The remaining 8 hours of their shift would be on call from wherever they reside within the community. That's not a bad model, but it does take 8 people to run that model. And so, of course, this is where the staffing and the projections for what we're going to be able to achieve in a community come into play. The next model online is the straight days alpha, it's called. So that takes 4 people to run. They work a 4 on 4 off pattern. The 12 hours daytime is covered by 2 paramedics in the station ready to respond. And then 12 hours of night shift would all be on call. And that would either be with casuals that are attached to the station, casual employees, or the full-time members that are attached to that station could, if they opt to, choose to cover some of those night shifts on their days off. One of the nice things about that model, it's 4 full-time positions. They're not factored down to a 0.75. And then the last model that is on the table is a full-blown Alpha car, which is 24/7, 2 paramedics in the station ready to respond. So those are the 4 models that are on the table coming into this change. As I said, we don't know yet what is going to be put into place. The amount of feedback that I have and that my staff have to affect a different model than what the government proposes is going to go into place is fairly limited. And so the engagement of our staff and the managers leading up to this is kind of where we got to say our piece. And yeah, there's a few timelines that are, of course, as usual with government, they're getting pushed back a little. We had expected to hear within the next 2 weeks what the proposed models are. I'm anticipating that is going to be pushed out till slightly after UBCM now. That being said, we do have it sounds like a lot of time, but it's an extremely short time frame to actually implement these models. And we're expecting that following the announcements very shortly after that, postings for all these positions and changes, the changes will be announced, and then postings for positions will go up through November and December with go live dates of the new units and new employees in through January and February. That, of course, there's always things that happen that push these back a little bit, but we do have a mandate that it will be in place by the end of March. So there are exciting times coming. It is one of those things that we're all a little bit nervous, wondering what the government's going to decide. And I had hoped that I would have a little more information to tell you at this meeting what was going to take place, but I don't have that yet. And that's about all I've got for you guys right now. But I'm certainly happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Council. Anyone have a question for Nate? No? Councillor Paulson?
Thank you, Nate, for your report. And it sounds like things are going into a little bit of chaos again. I wonder if these 4 options apply only to the small units that you're talking about, the 6 units, or is it province-wide?
It is province-wide. There are 60 stations that are going to be converted across the province. And Sayward is a pretty good representation of an average station that is one of the ones that are going to be converted.
And at this point, you don't know what the conversion will be to?
It's going to be any one of those 4, but I don't even have a single hint as to what it's going to be yet.
And who decides that? The provincial government?
My understanding is, yes, it will come from the Ministry of Health.
Thank you.
Is
there any breakdown on the costs associated with each one of these models to implement it, with having the number of employees that you mentioned?
Those are not details that were shared with me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Thanks for being here tonight, Nate. Appreciate it. Look forward to having you in March after we find out some more detail.
That will be wonderful, and I hope to be there in person next time.
Sounds good. Thanks for being there. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go to correspondence. Who wants any pulled? Councillor Tinsley.
Thank you. I'd like to request to pull E for Edward for the Garden Club letter and C for Charlie for the BC Epilepsy Society.
Okay, anyone else? Counselor Bichette, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to pull E as well, so that's taken care of. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So for correspondence, we have A, B, D to be received.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second that.
further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. Okay, Counselor Tinsley. Oh, Counselor Bichette, you have your hand up?
Yeah, that was 4, not opposed.
Okay, sorry. All in favor? No, he was saying it was not opposed. It was in favor.
Correct.
Okay,
In favor.
okay, so we'll start with C. Counselor Tinsley, you wanted C and E.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Relative to C for Charlie, BC Epilepsy Society. I believe last year we made that proclamation exactly as written. And I think if we're going to support something like this, a good cause, just making the proclamation, declaring that day is a reasonable thing that we should be able to do. Thank you.
Great. Council? Do you all agree?
Yeah.
Counselor Paulson?
Yes, I'd like to request that proclamation be posted in the September newsletter.
Okay. It'd be the October newsletter.
October newsletter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, that's too late though.
No, it's not until March of next year. Counselor Tinsley, did you want to make a resolution on that?
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My resolution would be that we fulfill that proclamation at the next meeting because we have a large agenda tonight and complete that proclamation at the next meeting. That would be my recommendation, and then it be put in the letter for Councillor Paulson's request as well. Thank you.
Good. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? CAO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our suggestion would be to advertise it closer to the event. So perhaps
April.
February,
March, February.
Well, it's-
January, February, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not April.
it's March. It's a March,
Yeah,
yes.
March.
Will before.
Okay. Agreed. All in favor? Counselor Bichette? You're muted? You're
I'm
still
in
muted.
favor. I'm in favor.
You're-
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So everybody's in favor. Now we will go to the Garden Club on E. Counselor Tinsley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We thank Mr. Turner for bringing that letter forward to council, explaining further the information that it's an educational piece that they're writing. And I suggest that given that clarification, that we accept the request for a removal of the $25 fee for such an educational piece. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have further discussion? All in favor? Was that an in favor, Counselor Bichette?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So everybody's in
Trying to get
favor?
the hand up in time.
No, it's all good. Motion is passed. Okay, so correspondence, C and E be received. Have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. All righty. So we're moving on to councilors' reports, none, report of committee, none, mayor's report, none, unfinished business, none, staff report. Council action deferred from August 15th, 2023 meeting. The council receives the council action list and report for information and discussion. Motion, please.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. Councillor Paulson.
Thank you. I have some discussion. I just need to find my notes and I have read through the council action list and recall that the last SPIT report, which stands for Strategic Plan and Sayward Projects and Initiatives Template Update, was delivered to council on December 6th, 2022. There was a list of updates required, and it was in the agenda package on page 65 to 72 of the December 6th agenda, and listed on a priority scale. So there were several projects that were identified by a priority level, and there are many on them that are not included on this latest council action report. So I would like to request that this report format be redesigned to include progress reports with timelines, grant applications, approvals, denials, etc. This current council action list was to be brought forward by the CAO earlier this year, and at the last minute it was removed from the agenda, and again 2 weeks later it was supposed to be on the agenda, but it was removed. So through the mayor to the CAO, I respectfully request that the progress report, whatever it is to be called, return to the format similar to the SPIT report, updated quarterly and available prior to the September 4th regular meeting. I sent this request in an email on August 31st and haven't had a reply back. It was sent to all, to staff and to councillors. So I think this approach will keep council informed, on track and on budget, and allow staff to follow an organized, productive and efficient schedule.
Councillor Chensley, and then we'll go to the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe it would be a decision of a vote of council relative to Councillor Paulson's desire to have this change back to something before. I myself am quite impressed with the number of completed items on this report. I think staff is. Excuse me.
You want to mute Mr. France or remove him completely, please? If he's going to interrupt the meeting, he should be just removed. Thank you. Or removed.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's
continue.
Up to, oh, sorry. Thank you. I was quite impressed with the number of things complete. I think the report is very readable. My suggestion is we do have to respect the amount of work that is on our staff at all times. And so I guess in the end, I would suggest that if Councillor Paulson is seeing things missing, which I'm not sure I saw anything missing, but I believe it would be, you know, something that she could take to staff and see if they agree with that and have it put on. But otherwise, in the end, it would be a vote of council as to whether we want to change this process here. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll go to the CAO and then Councillor Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Councillor Paulson's point about missing items, I would have to acknowledge that I picked this action item, this action list up beginning in January. So there were some items that were not captured previous to January. Not left off intentionally. I kind of had to pick a starting place. We still have the former SPIT report to refer to. So there's by no means is there an attempt to not finish projects that were identified there. I just respectfully want to remind council that I came before council in May with a report just talking about sort of the voluminous nature of the SPIT report in terms of what it's morphed into because of several sort of several areas that are tracked, and it is difficult to keep up with. It's almost a project unto itself just to keep up with the SPIT report in its current format. I can share with council during my 2 weeks of transition with Mr. France, he attempted on former acting CAO, Mr. France, he attempted on 3 or 4 occasions to schedule time with myself and the CFO to review the SPIT report, to update the SPIT report so that we could include it as part of our transition. Time couldn't be found to do that. It was too big then, and it's too onerous then, and it's too onerous now. Myself and CFO Clark have met and discussed it. Same thing. There's a lot of good information in there. It's just really onerous for us to keep track of, and there are some aspects of it that most certainly have to be changed because it's an impossibility just to make sense of it, just in terms of asking for dates and or referring to dates. It's an impossibility to track. So the suggestion here, this format was made after I researched several different municipalities, the different formats they're using. There's certainly more complex formats out there, but they are supported by municipalities that have a much bigger staff base than we do. This, I thought, was a good format relative to our staff capacity. So I think that's everything from
Thank you,
me.
Councillor Burchett. And then
Yes,
Councillor
thank you, Mr.
Gilkin.
Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say that the format change should be a council decision. That's my opinion. I believe this report is incomplete and, quite frankly, unacceptable. I agree 100% with Councillor Paulson and how it should be viewed and put forward to council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gilkin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was quite happy to read this report, actually. It was very nice to see all the green, and I think it's easy, it's laid out nice. I mean, you can go through it and read everything and know what everything is. So I very much support Councillor Tinsley. Thank you.
Did you have a motion that you wanted to put forth, Councillor Wilson? Yes. About changing the report? Turn on your microphone, please.
This current council action list is merely a list of completed recommendations and resolutions. It no way addresses projects such as the project planning funds for Fire Smart, active transportation, age-friendly grants, and shared services with the SRD. There's been absolutely no updates or information included in this report. Just to say that a resolution is passed makes it complete does not mean that the project is complete. So it's interesting that the green is appealing, but the list of actions completed are actually not progress reports. They're simply repetition of resolutions and motions that have been put forward, and any counselor can look through their previous minutes and find those resolutions and motions. So I don't see how you can find this a replacement for the STIP report. And as of I believe it was the 15th of March, there was supposed to be a presentation of an example of the council action list, and we never did receive that example until we got this report at the last meeting.
Okay, CAO. And then we're moving on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, in case I've created some confusion somehow, I just want to clarify, listing the resolution does not equate to complete. So the resolution is listed, and if the resolution has been completed, then it's marked complete. But it's not marked complete just by listing it. I just want to clarify that in case there's a misunderstanding. So anywhere where there's a resolution listed and then complete, it's been completed. And then there's projects that are on hold that haven't been started, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing I just want to clarify is, again, I brought this forward to council on May 2nd in this format and presented this format to council for council's consideration, and council approved the format, and I continued on from there. It's taken some time to get the format to you in today's in today's, as it's being presented today, but it was brought to you on May 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we don't have, all we're doing is receiving for information and discussion. So do we have a first on that, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Counselor Burchett?
I am opposed.
Okay, thank you. So we got 2 opposed, 3 in favor. We're accepting it for information and discussion. B, permissive tax exemptions 2024. The council received the permissive tax exemptions 2024 staff report for information and discussion. Do you have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Counselor Burchett, you're opposed on the tax exemption? Is that correct?
I'm in favor.
In favor? Thank you.
Yeah. Are we going to discuss this now?
Yeah, we're going to discuss it right as soon as we get into the second one. The first one is just to introduce for information and discussion. So, and that the staff be directed to prepare a permissive tax exemption bylaw for the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 147 and the Nature Trust of BC for a period of 5 years for council's consideration at the October 2nd, 2023 council meeting.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Discussion, Councilor Burchett.
Yes, it's with regards to Nature Trust. For a while, I've been trying to get this as a great negotiating for the tax exemption. If we can get the trail extended and possible parking on Sayward Road. So I would like to work on that and have that ready for Nature Trust for discussion, negotiation. It would be great for tourism in Sayward. It would be less conflicts with industry and the log sort if people are parking on Sayward Road. And the tourists would actually know where to go and not be afraid to compete with logging trucks. This trail would get a lot more usage and be something the community could be even more proud about.
Okay, well, that was something that the staff would get into discussion with Nature's Trust, correct?
Yes, and I would like to be involved with that.
But that's a
Thank
staff job until the staff report is brought back to council.
Then I would like to motion a staff report to discuss extending Kelly's Trail to Sayward Road with parking for,
Okay, you could make that motion. We're on a motion right now, so you can make that subsequent right after.
okay,
Okay, so let's finish up this one first. Again, it was the staff be directed to prepare a progressive tax exemption bylaw for the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 147 and Nature's Trust for the period of 5 years for council to consider at the October 3rd council meeting. So I have a motion on that.
I'll move that.
We had the first and we had the second. We're into discussion. So all in favor? Sorry? We were, yes. Go ahead.
I would just like to point out in the permissive tax exemption for Nature's Trust, and for the Legion, the schedule includes a meeting on September 26th and October 3rd, and our meeting September 26th is canceled. So I would like to see that rescheduled. And under the tax exemption for the Nature's Trust, it says on the opening letter that attachments include the financial statements. And I didn't get the financial statements in my package, so I don't know if anybody else did, but they weren't included in my package. So there's nothing to compare their expenses to their financials to what they're requesting for the amount of the
Okay.
grant.
And that's for Nature's Trust. So we don't have the financials on that. CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you look on page 42 of your package, I did include some financial information pulled from the Nature Trust's financial statements, and I do have their financial statements. They were part of the application. So if council would like to review the entire financial statements, they're available. I just didn't include them in the package because they're quite lengthy. But I did do a little snapshot there of information pulled from their financial statements. Thank you.
So as a suggestion, what I suggest is we table the permissive tax exemption for Nature's Trust. No, we don't have to. CFO.
Unfortunately, there isn't time to table this because there's only 2 meetings now before the deadline of October 31st to have council read the bylaw.
Okay, so how do we get all the information to council between now and October 3rd for council to make a decision, and also the negotiations that Councillor Burchett is referring to?
Thank you. What specific financial information is required that I did not include here? I'm sorry, I'm a little
Councillor
confused.
Paulson?
Thank you.
Part of the requirements for the request for tax exemption includes financial disclosure, and that's not available here. And in order to make a decision on whether the exemption should be 100% or 50% or 0% or whatever, I think it's important to understand the financial revenue and expenditures.
Councillor Tinsley.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at these financials, which are available on public website, these are all the numbers we need as far as I'm concerned. I don't need to see any more details than this around this very large charitable organization. So I'm quite happy with what's been presented by staff here. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gilkin.
I do believe that this is really all that's needed. I don't think there's much more, and we are closing in on the deadline, so I think it's best to move this along quickly. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor, which is the original, which you see on your agenda package. So for the Legion and Nature's Trust for a period of 5 years. And for council to consider at the October 3rd, 2023 meeting. So all in favor? Opposed? One opposed? Councillor Paulson opposed. It is carried. Lightning detection equipment agreement.
Are we gonna have a
Sorry?
motion? Are we gonna have a motion on the extension of Kelly's Trail?
Yep, sorry, go ahead. Make a
I'd like to
motion.
put a motion to negotiate with Nature's Trust to extend Kelly's Trail to Sayward Road and include safe parking for the locals and tourists.
Okay, thank you. Second,
I'll move that.
discussion. Councillor Tinsley.
Well, I appreciate there's an opportunity here, as Councillor Burchett mentions. I do recall, and this doesn't affect the ability to go back and ask them for these things, but I do recall a couple of years back, at least, Nature's Trust was very much in a position of not finding the fine balance between protection of nature and promoting more access and availability. That's what I recall from a few years ago. But and again, I can understand that they're trying to protect the nature and they're trying to find the balance between encouraging more tourism and protecting nature. So again, it doesn't really affect going back per this motion, but I just wanted to bring that up as an item from a few years back. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Councillor Burchett's motion on the floor. Sorry, Councillor Burchett.
Yeah, thank you. There is an existing trail there already that extends to Sayward Road, so it'll be almost zero impact. What we're dealing with here is the safety of tourists and the safety of tourists and locals dealing with logging trucks and that interaction, which could lead to a negative consequence. So I think this is important to move forward for the safety of the community and building a better tourism product and a better image of Sayward.
I don't disagree. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor of Councillor Burchett's motion? Sorry, Councillor Tinsley. Can you repeat the motion again, please?
The motion is to extend Kelly's Trail to Sayward Road and include safe parking for tourists and locals, so there's less interaction with industry.
Okay, Councillor Tinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm just trying to clarify, is this saying we are making it a condition of our consideration for
No.
their application?
No,
This is
it's in the
just
motion.
for us to pursue that at some point.
Correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. That council receives the lightning detection equipment agreement staff report for information and discussion. Motion, please.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. Councillor Burchett.
I was just seconding that.
Oh, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that council approves the license of occupation agreement between the Village of Sayward and the Ministry of Environment. And that the mayor and the corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement. Motion, please.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. Everybody. Councillor Paulson.
Yes, the original agreement with the Minister of Environment had a term of 5 years with 2 automatic renewal terms for 5 years each. And it says in the discussion, the new agreement to be entered into for a period of 10 years with 3 automatic renewal terms of 10 years each. An annual license fee of $1,200 paid to the village is also proposed, which is the same fee as the original agreement that goes back to 2008. The only cost to the village are electrical costs for the sensor, which is minimal. And I question whether an agreement for 40 years and leaving the $1,200 dollar per year, which is $100 a month license fee, is reasonable, considering that we are not able to predict what's going to happen in 40 years, how the cost of living is going to go up, how hydro is going to increase. So I think the 40-year projection is a bit lofty.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Tinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My concern was the dollar figure, both based on inflation since the original agreement and also there's no reflection of inflation. So I'm wondering if there's a possibility of having that in there because otherwise it's downloading to a municipality. Thank you.
CAO or CFO?
I think these are good points and staff can follow up. I can tell you really briefly, we look at these things as sort of helping hands, wanting to just be part of the network that contributes to information that helps promote health and safety. But I think these are valid points and we can go back and speak with the network and see if we can get answers to council's questions. So if you'd like to defer it, we can follow up.
I would like to defer it to the next council meeting. Everybody okay with that? Till we get answers? Thank you. Deferred. Grant application, approved funding. The council received the grant application and approved funding staff report for information and discussion.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. And that the 2023-2027 financial plan be amended to incorporate the $20,000 from the regional UBCM CEPF ESS grant, $30,000 from the regional UBCM CEPF EOC grant, $70,000 from ICE-T Rural Advisory Program grant of $99,360 from the UBCM CRI Fire Smart grant, and $5,000 from the BC Healthy Communities Community Connectivities Grant to fund the project identified in the September 5th, 2023 report from the CAO. Motion, please.
I'll move that.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the 2023-2027 financial plan be amended to transfer $10,000 from the Growing Communities Fund for Fire Hall number 1 generator project. Motion, please.
I'll move that.
Are you sure?
I'll second.
Okay, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. No opposed. Motion is carried. Financial variance report. That council received the budget variance report from July 31st, 2023. Staff report for information and discussion.
I'll move that.
Second.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All in favor?
Are we
Opposed?
discussing it?
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you put your hand up. Sorry, Councillor Bichette.
Yeah, so is this the time where we're discussing this? You just said
Sure.
discussion.
Sure, we can just quickly discuss that and then we'll move on to the other. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not okay with this variance report. I think it's very vague. It's not transparent. And where's the breakdown for legal and consulting?
CAO or CFO?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. The variance report is representative of the types of variance reports produced for council. We're the information provided includes our departments and the budget, our actuals up to July 31st and any variance. And the CFO has raised your attention to 6 items, 3 in revenues and 3 in expenditures. And summarized summarize those. I'd probably just like to know more about what council would like to see. Legal is included in administration,
Which is highlighted on page
which is
91.
highlighted on page 91. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so any further discussion? Councillor Burchett?
Yeah, I think the constituents of Sayward really need to get more information on this, and there needs to be a proper breakdown to
Okay.
include exactly what legal and what consultation costs are included in administration. Otherwise, it's not good enough information for our constituents.
Thank you. Councillor Tinsley, then Councillor Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find the standard format that we've used for quite a long time to be very reasonable, acceptable to the public, and understandable. So I actually disagree, and I think this is reasonable and we should move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paulson?
Yes, with respect to transparency and open dialogue, and for the people that are present here tonight and will be watching, I'd like to request that the CFO run through the points that she's brought forward so that any questions that come up can be asked.
What points?
Like she has done before, for instance, pointing out that the under revenues, that the interest and tax penalties are slightly higher, and it's due to an increase in property taxes, just so that we can ask questions if due to the variance report.
Councillor Tinsley?
Yeah.
I believe that all the information is here for the public to read and for us to ask questions of right here. I'm not sure there's anything to add to the report. So I actually disagree. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gilligan?
Lost my page. I mean, it's all there. It's all the numbers, all the dollar amounts. It's all there. I don't see why we need to change it. Like Councillor Tinsley said, we've used this model for years. I don't know how many years, but I know we've used it for a long, long time. So I don't see a need to change it as of right now. Thank you.
CFO, do you have any comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there's specific questions, I can certainly try to answer them, but as Councillor Paulson's indicated, everything's listed here on page 91, but certainly if there's specific questions about these items, I can address those. Thank you.
Okay, so do you have a specific question?
Yes. Sorry, yes, I'd like to make a comment about the under revenues on page 91, and the sale of service for the revenues in 2023 for the rec center have more than quadrupled compared to 2022, which indicates a return to pre-COVID levels of attendance and use of the facility. And I think we need to applaud the staff and manager of the rec center who managed to pull this off, and it's a great accomplishment. So I would hope that we would continue with the new program implementation. Under the legislative expenditures, it says that expenditures for governance training that took place on the 2nd and 3rd of June were not originally budgeted and will need to be added to the financial plan as an amendment to ensure funds are still available in this department for UBCM expenses. So I think if the cost of the governance training that was not originally budgeted, but was in a previous agenda listed at $5,400, needs to be considered, that if funds aren't available to send staff or elected officials to UBCM, that we consider not sending them this year, because it's a balancing act, and whether
Point of order, Mr. Chair, but this is a time for questions, I believe, to the CFO. Thank you.
So your question to the CFO, please.
my question is, why would the $3,000 from this department be taken from the operating service surplus to cover expenses for UBCM at a time when our budget is generally on track, but the legislative expenses are over budget?
I believe that we did originally have in the budget for the CAO to attend. Is that not correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the CAO's expenses are not under legislative, those are under administration. And the governance training was something additional that wasn't originally included in the budget. So I'm not really sure what the question is. I think it's a little bit too late to be canceling UBCM.
Well, there's nothing really to cancel. As you said, it was under it's under administrative.
Right.
And not legislation. And I'm going under the banner of the SRD, which there's no cost to the municipality. Correct? CAO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I defer to the CFO to confirm this, but I believe this information you're reading before you is based on council sending one elected official to UBCM, and in this department only, legislative. Council is not sending an elected official now to UBCM. The SRD, as you've pointed out, is sending you, and the village is sending me under an administrative budget. So effectively, just through circumstance, this is a moot point right now.
So
Effectively,
3,000 is no longer on the table.
correct.
Correct? So that can be taken out. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Do you have an additional question before we move on? Your microphone, please.
Under expenditures and administration, I'm questioning the increased consulting and legal costs to ensure that these additional costs are included in the financial plan. An amendment will be required. So why because some of these matters have not concluded, why are we waiting until the next variance report before recommending the amount of the amendment and source of the funds? the next variance report will be due in December, and will that not be too late to adjust the and find out where we're taking the money from?
CAL,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So a couple of things. First of all, just to clarify that, and I want to be explicitly clear here, that we have as a village spent some money on legal costs and some money on consulting on specific to business that is in camera. It's confidential information. It's not to say there's anything wrong with that information or that business. It's just happening in an in-camera forum. So it can't be discussed in any way through a variance report or any other way. Secondly, we can provide a variance report and will provide a variance report to council previous to the end of the budget year, and most certainly in time to allow council to approve any amendment to the budget. It's typical for the CFO to bring a recommended budget amendment forward to council before the end of the year for council's consideration, and we will most certainly be doing that. The suggestion to not estimate an amount of that budget amendment now, it would just purely be speculation, is just a practical suggestion. Let's not estimate. Let's wait till a time in the future when we have the actual number and provide that to council for your consideration.
okay, thank you. One last question, then we'll go to Councillor Burchett.
Because these expenses are listed in camera, doesn't mean that we should not have a cap on the expenses. And there has never been a cap initiated or recommended for these expenses. So it's it would be a positive thing for council to, in part of the resolutions or approval of the expenses, to set a cap.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Burchett.
Yeah, a couple things. First, I'd like to remind the chair, if someone calls point of order, that they should cite the bylaw under what point of order they're referring to. It's getting a little out of hand with the amount of point of orders called without being cited.
Okay, thank you. Your point.
Second thing is, I would like a exact breakdown of legal and consultation costs. Hiding it under administration is not transparent, and it needs to be broken down. If
point
you
of order.
that,
Point of order. Your point was already answered. It was in camera. Therefore, you will not get that information at a public meeting until it is complete. That's already been mentioned. The CAO has already explained that. So we're moving on.
Why would we be moving on when all we're looking at is a number amount that should not be hidden from the public?
Again, not hidden. It is in camera. Councillor Burchett, you're done talking. Please mute him. Thank you. Okay, moving on, where that was information and discussion. So all in favor? Opposed? C2. If you continue that, Councillor Burchett, I will have you completely removed from the meeting. Thank you.
What a joke.
Take him off the meeting, please. Goodbye, Councillor Burchett. Okay, and that the 2023 to 2027 financial plan be amended to transfer 5750 from operating surplus to fund the budget overages identified in the September 5th, 2023 report from the CFO.
I'll move that.
Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. carried. Oh, sorry, Counselor Paulson is opposed. Grant and aid, the Sayward Tour de Rock Committee. Recommended resolution that council receives the grant and aid request, Sayward Tour de Rock Committee staff report for information and discussion, and that the in-kind donation request by Sayward Tour de Rock Committee in their late dated August 20, 2023 be approved.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Further discussion on Tour de Rock, Councillor Gilkin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support this. I think Tour de Rock is an amazing committee. I think this brings money into the community, money towards Tour de Rock, and I will fully support it all the
Excellent.
time. Thank you.
Councillor Paulson.
Under the staff recommendations, I would just like to add that a letter be sent to the writer and informing them that their request has been approved.
Absolutely. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Response to request for feedback from the OCP update. That council receive a response to request for feedback for the OCP update, staff report for information and discussion. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor? Oh, Councillor Paulson. Do you want to save it on the second one? Okay, all in favor? On receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that council direct staff to inform the Wee-Wee-Kai and the Wee-Wee-Kum First Nations of council's willingness to grant an extension as outlined in option 2.
I'll move that.
Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Paulson? No, you're good.
About the OCP report and the agreement that was in December 6, 2022, that the presentation by Urban Systems, council resolved to have Urban Systems complete the official community plan for a cost of up to $7,000 based on work already done by Urban Systems. And they included updated zoning bylaws. That resolution needs to be referenced for completion of the official community plan to honor the agreement with Urban Systems. And also,
Go ahead.
also the completion date for the official community plan was expected to be June 2023. And there is an additional $30,000 required to facilitate the zoning bylaw review as mandatory step after adoption of the OCP. And my question is, was this discussed in the 2023 budget process?
CAO. Well, some of the requests for the delays is from the nations themselves.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is not a budgetary report. What we've done is we have sent out, as required through our OCP approval process, we're required to engage with the Agricultural Land Reserve, school districts, and First Nations as part of our OCP update. So what we've done here is we've sent those letters out for engagement. And as you can see through the attachment, Wee-Wee-Kai and Wee-Wee-Kum have responded to us and requested that we extend the deadline for input. and, and so that's what I'm reporting on here. In terms of Councillor Polson's questions about the budget, I'm not reporting on any budget at this point. And to Councillor Polson's point about the schedule of the OCP, we're behind schedule with the OCP to be certain. And so I fully acknowledge that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and that was on discussion, correct? All in favor? Opposed? You're opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. And that council directs staff to inform the Weeweekai Nation and the Weeweekam Nation on council's willingness to grant an extension on outlined on option 2.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. Councillor Tinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to commend staff on laying out the 4 different possibilities there, and that I believe option 2 is an excellent recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry, CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the fact that our consulting staff at Urban Systems are the people that put together the options. I would equally be remiss if I did not suggest to council that I think that the engagement that we're about to begin with Weeweekai and Weeweekam is going to be vitally important to this process. And I think option 2 is the best one for council, because I think that engagement process with Weeweekai and Weeweekam First Nations is going to be lengthy. And I think it's going to be incredibly revealing to council. The option 2, and again, credit to Urban Systems for suggesting it, keeps the OCP process going, but while at the same time allowing us to welcome feedback from Weeweekai, Weeweekam. I'm hopeful Weeweekai, Weeweekam First Nations will accept that as an option.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. H is history, so emergency service. Public Works Recreation Department, Recreation Center, August 23rd, Michelle Davis, Rec Manager. That the council receive the Recreation Center, August 23. Staff report for information and discussion.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. All in favor? Oppose? Seeing none, carried. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before you move on to the next item on the agenda, we need to go back in the agenda. A couple of the CFO will bring you back in the agenda. We just need to make a correction. Thank you.
CFO.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, sorry, I was busy over here with administrative tasks, and I missed when the resolution was made that the staff report E, the financial variance report, and I believe council made a motion to transfer $5,750 from operating surplus, but we removed the $3,000 from the legislative budget, so that number should only be $2,750. Yep. So
We need a new motion, so we receive a 2,700 and remove the $5,700. Do we have a motion on that, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed, motion is carried. Okay, so bylaws, none. New business, none. Question period. For the purpose of question period is to enable citizens to ask questions of councils on issues that are important to the citizen asking the question. Speakers are asked to limit their questions to 1 each. If time permits, everyone would have the opportunity to ask a question. Speakers may ask a second question. Citizens, please state your name and address, please. We'll have, sure, please come up to the microphone and say your name and address, please.
Be within my 2 minutes. In June, I sent a letter to, I'm sorry, I can't say the name. about the severe loose dog issue in the village of Sayward. At least some of you people right here have had an opportunity to see that themselves. I sent a letter to Mr. Kier. After my dog and I were accosted at the lake. Nothing happened. I didn't hear from anybody, so I went to the office and Jennifer said that should have gone to all the councilors and the mayor, the letter, and she said she will give it to you. So I fully expected it, and it was just a little too late, a day too late, 6 hours too late for the previous meeting.
Okay.
So I see no indication that the letter is anywhere. We still have a severe loose dog issue. So, but obviously it's not gonna be dealt with here now. We're done almost here at this meeting.
At this meeting,
Where
no.
did the letter go? Did anybody get to see it?
CAO?
Can't recall specifically right here, but I can say that I've had our public works foreman follow up on a couple of animal related complaints. So I'm speculating that he followed up. I've made a note that I have no follow up with the citizen. So I'll get that information and follow up directly with Melina tomorrow.
Good, thank
So
you.
where's the letter? Jack said each one of you is gonna get.
Yeah, that's generally, if it's going to go on the agenda, it's not something that Jennifer has any control over.
She said she was gonna email.
On you go. Yeah, I can't speak to the letter at all, but our CAO is going to get the letter, find out and deal with the dog issue with you tomorrow.
Thank you. And the second thing is, I've only been here twice, right? So last week I saw that you, Mr. Mayor, no offense, and the young one and Mr. Beasley agreed. As a rule, completely with each other, and the other two, Susan, is it? Sue? And the other one that you cut off, they never have a chance to say their point of view. Why?
I believe that's incorrect. I believe they always have an opportunity to speak, and they do speak. Oh, sorry, you just said they don't get that opportunity. Well, no, you know what? I agreed with the motion that Councillor Burchett put up today, but democracy is a vote. Now, there's a lot of times where it doesn't go my way or Councillor Gilkin's way, but you've only been here a couple of times. But it is democracy where we have 5 people voting, and if 3 carry the vote, then it's carried vote.
Always the same 3 that say, I agree, the other 2 say, I don't agree.
You would have to ask the other 2 that disagree. Then it's 3-2. The other way. Oh, it does. Councillor Tinsley, sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to address it, I think if you review the minutes, you'll find numerous times I have voted against something when the other people have. I was looking through the minutes and I was like, oh yeah, I voted against that. So it's not that case, and I have certainly numerous times voted for things that have been brought forward by the other councillors. So it does work. So I just wanted to bring that forward. If you review those minutes, you'll see the diversity of voting. Thank you.
I would suggest that you go online and look at our meetings from before, but you're way over time. Not a problem. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? State your name and address, please.
Actually, 3 points if I may.
No, you're allowed 1 up to 2 minutes. And then if time permits, you'll be able to ask a second.
Nature's Trust. we went through Nature's Trust in 2018-19 timeframe. And yes, there's a trail that runs between Sabre Road and Logging Road. However, Nature's Trust was not interested in entertaining putting a parking lot because the parking lot would impede on the landscape that's there for the wildlife. And that's exactly what they presented back to council.
Okay. Anyone else? Please state your name. We still have how much time left? We have time, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Jason Johnson, 151 CD Street. Just a quick question regarding the OCP. It's my understanding that Urban System was charged with coming up with full scope at the time it was originally awarded. I'm just wondering if identifying all stakeholders at that time was part of that scope, and if so, included in the original costing. Thank you.
Thank you. So you get back to Mr. Johnson on that? Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Other than you? No, sorry. Anyone else? Okay. You got the last one.
You need my name again? William Ives, 121 CD.
For the recording?
Same guy.
Looks familiar. Yeah.
Your speed limit reduction, again, that was done in 2018, 2019. They went back to the ministry. What I initially proposed to council and that they blessed wasn't supported by the ministry because it was for the whole length of the village for it to be 30 or 50 Ks. And what generated that was a new crosswalk. So it was 70 Ks down there and coming around that corner for an 18-wheeler, mom crossing the street with a dog and a kitty and, you know, could create chaos and an accident. So we did get a speed limit reduction. And at the time we wanted it further out, you know, towards the beginning of the village, but the ministry wasn't willing to support it. They may change their mind now, but there's history there if you want to look at it.
Okay, thank you very much. Last one. Last thing.
I guess the third, William Ives. Same bloody fella, right? The third one is budget. And
Can you speak closer to the mic so they can hear it on the
Budget.
recording? Thank you.
all right, our budget is a living, breathing document, and for every year that I've been here, it's amended and changed because we have situations that change that demand that money move right, left, and center. To come into a facility like this and to work as a group, to split hairs is not going to help anybody, right? You know, what I'm hearing here is a bunch of foolishness, and not only is hear it here, but you see it on social media, and it should stop.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of that. And then we have in camera and recommended resolution that in accordance with section 92 of the community charter, this council meeting will be closed to the public. This time to order council may give consideration of the matters in accordance with the following sections of the community charter. Section 90-1, labor relations and employee relations, and section 90-1F, law enforcement, if the council considers that disclosure could be reasonably be expected to harm the conduct of an investigation or under enforcement of an enactment. Sorry. Adjournment. 10-minute recess. Sorry, do we need a motion? Yes. Oh, sorry, let's do the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. We're adjourned.